Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be the second update for my Pan Those Eyeshadows 2022. This project was created by Alexi, and I think this is the 4th year that I am participating. I just love this project so much. I am personally randomizing 5 eyeshadows from my complete collection and then a 6th shade from my focus palettes for the year. I must use the shades 20 times or hit pan on them to roll them out. I'm not focusing on any black eyeshadows. And I'm going to veto a shade out in this update that I'm just not enjoying. Before hopping into my progress on my shades, I will pop in a picture of my color story that I've been working on. Didn't really go together, I don't feel like. We had some jewel tones. And overall, I really enjoyed the shades. I just am ready to roll some out. An added layer of difficulty, I guess, for my updates, I really try to use every single shade. So again, using my color story here, you can see I have the green in the inner part of my crease, the pink on the outer part of my crease and my outer V, the navy shimmer on the outer lid, and I mixed the silver and gold shimmer for the rest of my lid and in my inner corner. And I have the pink on my lower lash line. So, oh, and the brow bone shade on my brow bone. This was fun. I don't really feel like the look goes together all that well, but I did try. I mean, I used all 6 shades, so that's a win in my book. Oh, and another one of my rules is if I roll in a brand new palette that I've never used before, I want to get used to the whole palette for 10 times instead of focusing on one specific shade. Well, I do focus on the shade that I rolled in, but I have the freedom to use the entire palette. Anyways, okay. First up, I have my Urban Decay Gwen Stefani palette. I rolled in the shade Danger, which is the blue shimmer. I used this 3 times this past month for a total of 7 uses. I didn't tell you my pan percentage because I've started tracking that. So at the beginning of February, my pan percentage was 1.69%. And now it is 1.93%. So I am improving, if just the tiniest bit. Okay, 7 total uses on this shade. I am choosing to roll it out. This palette is one of my very oldest palettes in my collection. It has sentimental value to me. It was my first high-end palette and it was gifted to me. This is the most used palette in my collection at 113 uses. There is one pan and there's some dips, and I feel like I have successfully made quite a dip in the shade Danger. However, I have to force myself to reach for it. I'm just not loving it. I like deep mattes. Like if this were a matte navy blue, I would like it a lot more. When I put this all over my lid, which I have done a few times, it's just too dark for me and it doesn't have enough like shimmer or metallic quality to it for me to enjoy it that way. I have been putting it on the outer part of my lid and I never enjoy it that way. The only way that I've really been enjoying this is on my lower lash line, which again, it's very dark, or as a liner, and I'm already trying to pan a blue liquid liner, so those two are competing, and I feel like I've tried this a multitude of ways and I'm just not enjoying it, so I would rather just roll it out. It's still in my spreadsheet. If it gets rolled in again, so be it. But I just feel like this is my most used palette by far in my collection, and it's nowhere near a favorite. So while I do want to keep using it occasionally, I think, let me see, I used it 30 times last year and 7 times so far this year. So I mean, it's getting used. I just don't want to focus on it right now. So I'm calling veto on this shade and really hope that this palette doesn't get rolled in at least, you know, straight away, at least not right now. Next I have my L'Oreal Infallible eyeshadow in the shade Silver Sky. This is more of a pressed pigment situation. Like it has the stopper, it's very loose in there. Like if I really get my brush in there, it kind of starts to come apart, and then I use the stopper to kind of push it down. So I'm not really getting that much of a dip. This won't be one that I hit pan on. It's so deep in here, but I have decided to keep it in for now. I might roll this out next month, but I don't feel like I've used it enough. And it is pretty. It's like a silver topper shade. There's not much base to it. I used it 2 times this past month for a total of 5 uses in this project. So I used it 3 times last month, 2 times this month. I just don't feel like I've used it enough to say I want to roll it out yet. So this is going to stay in the project. I have 2 shades out of my ABH Jackie Aina palette. The first being Pinker, which is, like I said, on the outer part of my crease. I used Pinker 8 times this last month for a total of 12 uses in this project. This will be a shade I roll out after 20 uses, and I hope for that to be next month. It is very dry, and I know ABH mattes are dry, but when I touch it, it feels like a rock. I get pigment, like I get pigment on my finger, I get pigment on my eyes, but I don't know. And after 12 uses, there's like no dip at all, like barely a disturbance in here, which I find very shocking for an ABH formula. I am enjoying it well enough. I'm just not going to keep it in for a million years. The second shade I'm working on in this palette is Trust Issues, which is again like a topper shade. It has a very transparent base with gold shimmer or glitters in it, I guess. Shimmer is more accurate. I used it 6 times this past month for a total of 9 uses so far in this project. There is a dip forming in this shade, but again, nothing overly significant. I feel like I am more used to the formula that's in like Modern Renaissance, which is also older in my collection, but I can hit pan in that much more easily than I have been making progress on this one, if it makes sense. Like I've used this palette as a whole quite a bit, and I really don't feel like it's showing that much progress, which is fine. It's just interesting to see the difference. So that palette will be staying in. Next, my focus palette right now was the Wet n Wild Walking on Eggshells Trio. I actually hit 2 pans in this. So firstly, we'll chat about the Brow Bone shade, which is what was actually in this project. I used it an additional 15 times to hit pan. I used it today, so 16 times in this last month for a total of 29 uses in this project, and I finally did hit pan. And also, actually, like a week prior, I hit pan in the eyelid shade, and the dip is nowhere near as deep, so like that was a full surprise. I do want to hit pan in the crease shade in this palette this year as well, but we'll just see what gets rolled in. My focus palettes is this and the Comfort Zone, so we'll randomize a new shade from those to see what I'll be reaching for. But I'm very happy that I finally have visible progress on this palette. There's some dips happening in here, and I would like to finish this someday, but for right now, I'm happy with the pan. So we do have an actual pan in this update. And then lastly, this got rolled in last month, and it's the shade 22, which is the green on the inner part of my eye. I feel like it is already showing progress. These shades are very small, and I can hit pan on them relatively easily as soon as they, you know, get my focus, get my attention. And as we're going into March, I feel like I'll be reaching for green eyeshadows much more. So I hope to have pan on this for the next update, but I did use it 3 times in the month of February. So that's pretty good since it wasn't a shade I was focusing on. And I think I can hit pan in this like around the 30 use mark compared to the other shades, but we'll see. We'll see what I can do. I had a look. I'm stuttering. What is going on? I'll pop in a picture of a look I did where I had this packed all over the lid and then I blended it out with some of these brighter yellowy greens, and I really like that. And then I topped it with Trust Issues, the like gold shimmery topper, and that was really, really beautiful. And to deepen it up, I mixed the shade 22 with the black here. I really like the addition of the white and the black to really customize this palette even more. And then I used this on the inner corner, which is like a whitish green duochrome situation. It's very pretty on the inner corner. I just don't feel like that completely goes with the entire palette, mostly just these green shades. But anyways, I have another look to share with you before we get into randomizing shades that I wish I took a proper picture, but I didn't. I just had like a filtered Instagram story and then completely forgot about it, which is a shame. But I combined my Pan Those eyeshadows with the ColourPop At Forest Sight. I loved the mixture of all of the jewel tones. It was very vibrant and beautiful. I got use out of the blue, the green, and pinker, and Trust Issues as well. I really enjoyed that and I wanted to be sure to share it with you. So that was 3 looks to share with you if we count the one I have on my eyes today. Okay, so I'm rolling out 2 shades. The Wet n Wild Brow Bone shade and Danger from the Urban Decay Gwen Stefani palette. First, let us generate a number from my entire collection. I do have my Pretty Random app ready to go. I have in the numbers 1 to 1060, 572. This is a great shade. Oh, is it too similar? It is more neutral. I think I'm going to keep it in. Alright, now we're going to randomize a shade between my focus palettes. So I have the Comfort Zone and the Walking on Eggshells together. This is, what, 11 pans, but I'm going to randomize 1 through 9. Count number 1 is the crease shade in the trio. The number 5, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, a green. That is perfect. Okay, so we're going to be working on the eyelid shade on the right side of the palette, the cool tone side of the palette, I guess. That actually has the most use out of this palette as a whole. So the other shade I pulled in was from my ColourPop Wild Nothing palette. 572 is the shade Spirited, which is right here, and it is a Super Shock formula. So I'm very confident that I'll be able to hit pan in this easily. The 2 Super Shocks in this palette are kind of sheer toppers, but the shade Sultan is pretty much a dupe for Trust Issues. It's also a very transparent base with that like very vibrant goldish yellow shimmer to it, whereas Spirited is much more like neutrally rose gold like. It's also a topper with not a lot of base. Same as Trust Issues, same as Silver Sky, but they're all very different. Like Trust Issues is very yellow gold, Silver Sky is obviously very silver, and then this one's more neutral, a bit more in the middle. While I don't think it's necessarily the smartest choice for me to have 3 kind of toppery shades as my shimmers, at the same time, I feel confident I'll be able to hit pan in this, and ultimately that is the point. Like, I want to be able to hit many pans in my collection. I would like to hit 22 pans in 2022 actually, and while I have them all swatched out now, they are very similar, but I feel like I can do it. I have 6 shades going in this project this year, so I feel okay with this. I don't know if you guys will agree. I don't know if you think it's that smart. The greens don't really go together. The new green from the Comfort Zone palette is a very mossy green, whereas this one is kind of like a vibrant, I don't know how you would describe this green, spring green maybe, but that's okay. So I have 3 topper type shimmers, but I'm going to just stick with that. So I will pop up a close-up picture of this color story beside me. Again, I don't really feel like it all flows or like goes together all that well. I love reading your suggestions down in the comments below of how you think I could pair these. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure I'll come up with some fun looks. Goals for next time, I would like pinker to be done and really focus in on the green shade in here. Those are the 2 most vibrant shades I have. And then I honestly don't know if it's wise to keep focusing on trust issues or maybe just like really try and get spirited out quickly, because it is a small pan and it is a super shock shadow. So let me know how long you think it, like how many uses you think it would take to hit pan on this. I mean, there's no real dip in there. I must have used it like maybe 2 or 3 times before. This shade Saltoon has more of a dip than this shade does, which this one is like the dupe for trust issues. But I really don't think it would take many uses at all. So after pinker and the green in the Take Me Back to Brazil, the 3rd shade I'm focusing on, which do you think it should be? Trust Issues or Spirited? Overall, I'm feeling really good about my progress on my eyeshadows so far this year. I have hit 3 pans, which I don't think I was at 3 this time last year. I do obviously need to pick up the pace, especially to go along with my makeup rehab series in order to work off palettes I'm purchasing. But I do feel good about kicking out Urban Decay Danger because I just simply wasn't enjoying it. And the other shade that I hit pan on in this palette took me like 75 uses. So even if I forced myself through the 20 uses for the project, I wouldn't have had pan. So it just doesn't seem worth it to me. And this is a great spring palette to have pulled out coming into March. These really soft spring tones. It is a drastic change from these bold jewel tones I have been going for. So yeah, I like the change of pace as well. I think I'll be able to pair this palette with a lot of these shades and really enjoy some creative makeup playtime, you know? Okay, I feel like I have talked on long enough. As always, leave your look suggestions in the comments down below. If you did enjoy today's video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up so that I know, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye!